They call out the names of legends, loud, fierce, unforgettable. But sometimes, history forgets the man who made greatness possible, quietly. Ian Callaghan didn't scream for the spotlight. He earned it by running harder, standing longer, giving more. 857 times he wore the red of Liverpool. 1 yellow card, 2 decades of loyalty, more medals than any English player could dream. And yet, when the crowds roared for others, he just smiled and kept running. He was the heartbeat of Shankly's revolution. As age caught up, when the pace of the wings no longer suited him, Callaghan simply adapted, moving deeper into midfield, becoming Liverpool's silent metronome without ever complaining. The bridge between boot-room dreams and European glory, the quiet soul in a stadium built on noise. In 1966, England forgot him. In 1977, Europe crowned him. And still, he never shouted. Because some legends don't need a microphone. They only need muddy boots, a clean heart, and time. Time to reveal who the real giants were. Ian Callaghan, the man who did it all. While history whispered his name instead of shouting it. Subscribe if you believe true greatness doesn't have to make noise. And drop Callaghan in the comments for the legend who ran louder than he ever spoke. Before the medals, before the glory, there was mud, laughter, and a battered football rattling against brick walls. Ian Callaghan was born in 1942, right in the heart of Toxteth, Liverpool. A working-class kid with calloused hands and a wide, eager grin. He didn't dream of fame. He dreamed of playing just one match at Anfield once. In the post-war streets, football wasn't a game, it was life. A scuffed ball, a chalked goal on a crumbling wall, and a crowd of kids pretending they were kings. Ian wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the biggest, but he was the one who stayed after everyone else went home, knocking the ball against the curb, hour after hour, learning how to dance on uneven ground. By the time he was a teenager, Liverpool scouts didn't just see potential, they saw devotion. A boy who ran with heart instead of ego. At 17, Liverpool gave him a chance. A youth contract. A ticket into a world few from Toxteth ever touched. He didn't come into the club with headlines. He didn't have a golden boot. But what he had was what Bill Shankly would later call the rarest currency in football. Humility paired with hunger. The boy from Toxteth wasn't chasing superstardom. He was chasing the right to wear the badge. And brother, he would wear it longer and prouder than almost anyone who ever lived. Ian Callaghan didn't just break into Liverpool's first team, he burst into it like a gust of fresh air through tired windows. April 16th, 1960. Anfield. A teenager pulled the red jersey over trembling shoulders and took the field. Not as a star, not as a prodigy, but as a kid who simply never stopped running. At a time when Liverpool was stuck in the second division, desperate for a rebirth, Callaghan became their heartbeat. A winger who didn't glide, he grafted. He didn't weave past defenders with flair. He wore them down with 1,000 honest sprints. He didn't need tricks, he had trust. Bill Shankly saw it instantly. Here was a boy who never complained, never coasted, never craved headlines. Only one thing mattered, the team crest beating on his chest. By 1962, Liverpool clawed their way back to the first division. And there he was, the lad from Toxteth, sprinting down the wing, dragging a sleeping giant back to life. The city of Liverpool was changing, rising from soot and rubble into a place of dreams. And Ian Callaghan? He ran at its front, boots muddied, lungs burning, outpacing the city's fears, one match at a time. They didn't chant his name yet, they didn't build statues. But inside Anfield's old bones, the legend of quiet greatness had already begun. In the roaring 60s, when Liverpool's rise felt like a rock song played on muddy pitches, Ian Callaghan wasn't the drummer or the guitarist. He was the heartbeat you didn't notice, but couldn't live without. As the Shankly machine cranked into gear, it was Callaghan who pumped life through its veins. Sprint after sprint, tackle after tackle, cross after cross, he didn't ask for praise. He demanded excellence by example, not by volume. In 1964, Liverpool lifted the First Division title. The city danced, the country blinked. And Callaghan? He simply smiled, wiped the mud from his boots, and ran again. 2 years later, England lifted the World Cup. Callaghan, the quiet engine, played his part in the opening matches. But when the final came, he was dropped. No spotlight, no glory. While others climbed the steps at Wembley to hoist the golden trophy, Callaghan watched from the shadows, a champion in name, forgotten in fame. But he never complained, never cursed, never cracked. Because for Ian Callaghan, the mission was bigger than medals. It was about wearing the shirt, whether it was red or white, or just stained with the sweat of loyalty. Between 1962 and 1973, Liverpool rebuilt themselves into a dynasty. In 1975, Callaghan's humble service to football was quietly recognized when he was awarded an MBE, but true to his nature, he wore the medal like he wore his career, modestly and without fanfare. 4 league titles, 2 FA Cups, a UEFA Cup. And through it all, Ian Callaghan kept running, a man who made Liverpool breathe, even when history forgot to shout his name. Loyalty is supposed to mean something. It's supposed to protect you. It's supposed to repay you. It's supposed to matter. But in football, even at Liverpool, loyalty is often the first thing forgotten when the banners fade. In 1970, a younger, flashier generation emerged. Paisley and Shankly needed fresh legs. And though Ian Callaghan still outran men half his age, the writing was there, scribbled between the lines of new formations and new faces. By 1978, after 2 decades of running, covering, and creating, after 857 appearances, Liverpool decided it was time. No grand farewell, no testimonial in front of the Kop, just a quiet pat on the back and a door quietly closed. The man who once made Liverpool breathe was sent out into the world like a forgotten song. Fort Lauderdale, Swansea, Crewe Alexandra. Journeyman clubs for a man who should have been a shrine. He never lashed out, never blasted the press, never shamed the club he had carried. Instead, Ian Callaghan did what he had always done. He laced up his boots, smiled with that humble heart, and played on, carrying the quiet crown no statue would ever hold. Because real loyalty, it doesn't ask for applause, it doesn't demand a curtain call. It simply stands, until the world moves on without it. Most men would have grown bitter. Most men would have spat at the club's crest, cursed the shifting winds of loyalty, and faded into the background with anger in their bones. But Ian Callaghan? He simply refused. No rage, no resentment, no revenge tour. Only gratitude for the years he had been given, for the jersey he had worn, for the dreams he had once cradled between muddy boots and a clean heart. At Fort Lauderdale, he still chased lost causes under the Florida sun. At Swansea, he still picked passes others couldn't see. At Crewe, he still played like it mattered, even when nobody was watching. Because Ian Callaghan never needed a stadium full of roaring fans to justify who he was. He was a footballer in the purest, most stubborn, most beautiful sense of the word. A craftsman without ego, a servant of the game. He didn't carry Liverpool's rejection like a wound. He carried it like a weathered badge, proof that he had stayed faithful long after the applause had packed up and gone home. Because the true weight of loyalty isn't measured by how you are remembered. It's measured by how you carry yourself when no one is looking. In 2008, Ian Callaghan was inducted into the English Football Hall of Fame, a quiet honor for a man who had spent a lifetime serving the game without seeking the spotlight. When the boots were finally hung, there was no parade, no speeches, no grand farewells soaked in tears and champagne. Just a man, quietly stepping away, the way he had lived, without demanding the world's applause. Ian Callaghan didn't flood newspapers with farewell interviews. He didn't write bitter memoirs. He didn't wage battles for attention or sympathy. He slipped into the background as if greatness itself was just a chapter you should never brag about having written. Even after retirement, he stayed close to Anfield, not on pundit panels, but in the hearts of those who truly knew. Occasionally seen in the stands, smiling gently at the pitch where he had once run miles without asking for thanks, Callaghan became a quiet relic, a reminder that humility can outlive fame if worn long enough. In 2009, when Liverpool finally awarded him the European Cup medal he was owed for a final he had helped them reach, Callaghan accepted it with the same unshaken grace that defined his life. No anger, no "about time," just a soft smile and a nod to history. Because true legends never rage against being forgotten. They just become part of the air, a part of the soil, a part of the song that plays when no one else is left to hear it. And so Ian Callaghan faded, not into oblivion, but into something rarer. A man who stayed good, even when history grew careless. Time moved on. Managers came and went. Anfield's banners changed. The boots became lighter, the chants louder, but in the marrow of Liverpool's bones, Ian Callaghan remained. Not on the team sheet, not on magazine covers, but in the way a pass was played simple, in the way a heart was worn, heavy, on the sleeve. Young players were told his story, not through fiery speeches, but through a quiet reverence passed down like a family heirloom. They said, "Watch how he ran for others, not himself. See how he stayed when it was easier to leave." Understand that greatness doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just shows up, again and again, until no one can deny it. Liverpool didn't need to retire his number or build marble statues to honor Callaghan. They built something better, a tradition, a spirit, a whispered law in the dressing room. Play for the badge the way Cally did. Every perfect cross, every tireless run, every act of loyalty unseen by cameras but felt by the cop, it all bore the invisible fingerprints of Ian Callaghan. The man who once covered every blade of Anfield's grass still lives in its roar, its patience, its pride. And though history may have been slow to raise his name, Anfield never forgot. Because real legends don't ask to be remembered. They leave something inside you that remembers for them. Not every legend roars. Some just lace their boots, run harder than anyone else, and let history decide what it will remember. Ian Callaghan didn't chase greatness. He became it, quietly, stubbornly, beautifully. In a game that celebrates noise, he taught that loyalty is its own anthem. That dignity is a trophy few ever lift. And that true greatness doesn't always stand on a podium. Sometimes it just stands. And keeps standing. 857 appearances. 1 yellow card. Endless devotion. He didn't ask the world to notice. He just gave it something worth noticing. Today, banners wave for louder men. Statues rise for flashier names. But deep down, anyone who knows football's soul knows that a king once wore the Liverpool red. And he wore it the way legends should. Without noise, without ego, without end. Drop Cally in the comments if you believe true greatness speaks for itself. And subscribe, brother, if you know the best legends never had to shout. Because some echoes, like Ian Callaghan's, outlast the noise of 1,000 lesser names.